Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to take a very quick look at the game Worker Placement. Now before we go any further, it's worth noting that this game will be launching on Kickstarter around November of 2013, making everything that you see here subject to change. Now Worker Placement is, well, a worker placement game that tasks players with being in charge of a temp agency, and they're going to be trying to earn the most money by acquiring workers with specific skills and placing them into jobs. Let's just take a quick moment to look at the components and briefly see how the game is played. Now before we actually begin taking a look at all of this, I just want to again stress that these are prototype components. In fact, the components that you see here are only designed to handle up to 3 players. You'll be able to handle up to 5 players in the core game, should this be funded, and there's also an expansion in the works, I'm told, that will allow up to 8 players. So everything that you see here is just a fraction of what's actually in the core game. Now with that said, let's just take a brief moment to look at what actually came with the press copy. Over here on the left, you've got cubes of varying colors. These are called skill cubes. And basically, players will be acquiring these and using them in conjunction with some of these other cards to fill specific jobs and make money and reputation. Now, speaking of which, there are 5 player tokens of each color, one of which will be used to track a player's money that they'll be earning and spending throughout the game. This is represented by the very most outside track along the perimeter of the board. Players will also be using 1 token to track the amount of reputation they have, which is represented by this orange track along the bottom of the board. Now the other 3 tokens will be used to place workers around the various buildings on the board and also be used to track the player order as represented by this green box here. Now up here along the top, you've got a number of different cards and this blue token. And basically this blue token is used along this time track. Basically, one spot on the time track is representative of 1 round. And as rounds get completed, this blue token will move up the track. And the nice thing about this game is that players can agree on the game length before it starts. They can make it a short game by only making use of the green parts of the track, or they can extend it to a medium length game and use the yellow, or a long game and use the red. Now as far as all these other cards up here, the orange deck contains what are known as job cards. And basically, players will be trying to complete these in order to make money and reputation. On each job card, you'll see the job that it is and the skills required to actually complete it. Now these cards in green are what are known as business cards, and there's actually 3 different types of business cards within this deck. And the first one I want to cover are what are known as worker cards. Now worker cards have the name of the worker on the top and the skills that they have. And as I was showing you earlier, certain jobs require specific skills, so players will be trying to pair these up with certain jobs in order to complete them and make money. The second type of card is known as a skill card, and players can play these in conjunction with their worker card to give their worker an extra skill or extra set of skills in order to complete a specific job. Finally, you've got these management cards, and these serve to buff players in various ways. In this particular example, you could steal 2 money from 2 different types of opponents, or 4 money from 1 opponent. So players will be trying to collect these in order to earn money and reputation and give themselves some sort of advantage. Lastly, I just want to take a quick look at these red cards. These are just simply player order cards. These help players determine who's going to be going first or second or third or what have you on any given round. And again, you can see the player order by observing the green box here situated on the lower left corner of the board. Now game setup is pretty easy. Each player receives a set of tokens of a particular color, one of which will go on the number 2 on the cash track and the number 2 on the reputation track. The remaining 3 are just kept by that player. Each player also receives 4 of these business cards. Again, these are the business cards, and each deck is shuffled and placed in its appropriate place on the board. Finally, you've got these player order cards. You'll just simply remove the extra ones. There should be one equal to the number, one for each player in the game. So if there's 3 players in the game, you'd simply keep the 1, 2, and the 3 card and discard the 4, 5, and so on and so forth. Now, as I mentioned before, the game is broken up into rounds, and after each passing round, this token will go up the track until it reaches a certain point and the game ends. The person with the most amount of cash will win the game. Now, each round is broken up into 6 phases, the first one being the determine player order phase, and all that entails is each player getting a random card, one of these red cards here, and they'll be adding this value to the amount of reputation they have, and whoever has the highest value and the second highest value and so on and so forth will put one of their tokens on this particular track. Now, the second phase of the game involves the revealing of new job cards, and all that entails is drawing these orange cards from the deck and placing them along the top here. It'll be 1 job card per player with a minimum of 4 cards. So if you have 3 people playing, you'll want to draw 4 cards minimum. If you have 5 people playing, you draw 5 cards. Now, as the game progresses, these are going to stay up here, and in future rounds, you would just simply draw to fill any empty spots. Phase 3 involves the drafting of new business cards. Each player will draw 3 from this stack. They'll keep 1, pass 1 to the left, and place the remaining card face down into this auction discarded business cards part of the peer networking group. Phase 4 involves the auctioning of discarded business cards. Players will simply take 3 of these cards at random and place them face up into these 3 slots under the peer networking group. At this point, players will go ahead and auction for these cards using the tokens that they have over here on the left. Players will be able to place bids, and after it is all said and done, the person with the highest bid will get to take the card of their choice, the player with the second highest bid will take the next card of their choice, and so on and so forth. And while that's going on, they'll move their cash token along the track to reflect the fact that they used money to purchase these cards. The 5th phase of the game involves the placement of workers. They'll just simply use the tokens that they have in their pile and place them onto the various buildings. And each building gives players a particular benefit. Some reward players with yellow cubes or black cubes or red cubes. Some buildings can be used to attempt to complete a job using the business cards that you have. There's call centers that trade in reputation for cash, and so on and so forth. Now, it's also important to note that at this point, players can go ahead and pick up the tokens that are on their player order track here and use those to also enter buildings and perform actions. The last phase of a particular round is just designed to reset everything. The time marker is moved up the track. Each player will take back any tokens that they've placed into these buildings, and if players have more than 5 business cards in their hand, they'll have to discard down to 5. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Rounds will continue in that fashion until the time marker gets to a certain point along the track. Again, that's predetermined by players. And at that point, players will go ahead and see who won the game. To do that, they'll take a look at their cash value that they're currently at, factor in the amount of reputation they might have or any unused skill cubes they might have, and so on and so forth. And that'll push up their token along the cash track appropriately. And the person with the most cash at the end of the game wins. And there you have it. That's just a very brief look at the game worker placement. Nothing fancy, and I didn't cover all the rules, but it should give you an idea as to how the game is played. Now, if you like what you see here, you can check out the game on Kickstarter. I'll have a link to that Kickstarter page whenever it does launch. You can find it in the link below. You can also check out my written preview at www.dadsgamingaddiction.com, or again by finding the link in the below description. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.